I'm Jim Dwyer with Faith and Ale, Fort Myers, and I'm sitting here today with Tom Shillue. Tom, welcome to Fort Myers, Florida. We love having you here.
Thank you. It's great weather, although everyone's telling me it's cold. It doesn't seem cold to me.
Yeah, I imagine. Did you leave New York today, or were you...
No, it was yesterday, and then I did a show in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
At Side Splitters. And I split some sides, and then I drove down.
Excellent. Well, welcome to Fort Myers. We're happy to have you here.
Thanks.
I know that you're here to talk to our Faith and Ale group, and I'm not sure how much you're going to. I'm sure you'll stray from whatever material you have, because you seem like you're kind of an off-the-cuff sort of person, from what I can tell. But I did know, I know that you wrote a book, and that was originally kind of the title of the talk. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what led you to actually writing that?
Well, Mean Dads for a Better America, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, because part of my stand-up act, I used to always talk about my dad. My dad passed away in 2019, but when he was alive, he actually loved it when I would make fun of him on stage, because I say my dad was mean. He was like Darth Vader with a Boston accent.
Yeah.
And so I would always play that up, and sometimes young audiences, they didn't understand, oh, you were an abused child. Your father was really mean. No, it wasn't abuse. We were just scared of that man who came home from work every day. But, and I always said we loved our dad. We didn't want to have to see him all the time, but, but we did love him. And so my dad, he really got a kick out of that. And when the book came out, he was like my main salesman. He wanted to sit there selling books. He's like, let me sign the book. You don't need to sign the books. I'm the mean dad, So he loved it. And then after my dad passed away, I wrote a show, a solo show. And, he probably wouldn't be comfortable with it being the subject of a show that was, he liked the lightness of the stand-up, but the solo show was about things I discovered about my dad after he had passed away. And so I think my dad might have shied away. He was a private man. He didn't want his stories in public. So at the end of the show, I would say, "Too late now, Dad." But, I've always used my life in my comedy, because that's what the kind of comedy I grew up with. That's the kind of comedy I like. And, I like art that uplifts people.
Right.
And not everything has to be sunshine and roses, but you have to have some kind of positiveness at the end.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with so much of entertainment, is it's nihilistic, and it's bleak.
Yeah.
I can't watch these shows. Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones. These shows are, everyone's fascinated by them, so I tune in and I watch it, and I see that there's a bleak vision of a godless world. I don't want to be part of that. I need art to look, maybe a window into the eternal. Even though that's not what you get when you come see my stand-up. I'm not going on and on. I'm not a preacher, but I want to lighten up what life is, because I believe that there's more to life than what we're experiencing.
Yeah, your book's really a joy for me. I'm a little bit older than you, 6 months or so.
All right.
So we're right in the same age, and I grew up out in the suburbs of Chicago. But as I was reading your book, the stories, it could be so much of it could be telling my story.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. And one of the things that you talk about in the book are that these classic values and morals that came via the church, but they formed a society that just worked and that raised happy kids and kids who could move forward in their lives and become something. And today, it just feels like we've lost a lot of that. And you talk a little bit in the book about your own children and trying to bring some of that to them. How do you feel? I think at one point you said you hope that your kids are a little afraid of you.
Yeah.
Like I struggled with that with my kids, because I wanted them to be, but I also grew up with other parents who just were very much not that style, and so you're constantly always in that yin and yang of what to do.
Yeah.
How did you experience that as well? And
well, yeah, I wasn't joking when I said I wanted my kids to be afraid of me, because a little more afraid of me than they were.
Right.
Because I knew the experience that I had. And I thought if I just raised my kids the exact same way as my parents, they would turn out well. But still, you have this, in the modern world, we're a little more touchy-feely, and I can remember being out with the baby when we had our first daughter. We'd be out with the baby, and there was other parents. I think it was in Central Park in New York, and the parents, honey, watch out, the grass, it's sharp, put your shoes on, sharp grass. I was thinking, is the grass going to cut your feet?
Well, in Florida, you might be careful walking out there. It's pretty sharp grass.
There is sharp grass, yeah. So our kids had a little more gentle childhood than I think I had, but I did want to give them that kind of free range childhood. And then some of the other Catholic families that we befriended when the kids were little, they kind of helped us, because they were tougher than me with their kids, and they were also tougher, but they also let the kids go explore. They let the kids go run off into the woods. They had big families, and the older kid would take care of the younger kids. So, and my kids would go play with them, and so it was kind of a learning experience. And I'm going to be talking to the guys about that there's kind of these levels of my faith. Like a lot of people, I was a kind of a libertine young man. I moved to New York City, and maybe got away from the faith. And there's a funny story about that and my dad in my talk. But then there were I look at my return to the faith in stages. It never happens at once. You want to tell that story where, the lightning bolt comes down, and then you're recommitted to God and to Christ. But it doesn't happen that way. It happens in stages. And it happened with my marriage, the sacrament, you taking that sacrament seriously. And then the kids, you have kids, and that opens up a lot of doors there for faith. And when those doors open, you better take them. And then the death of my parents. And then the key thing with these guys that I want to talk about was the other guys. It was those Catholic men that were young dads. Yeah. They kept me on. They kept me going to Mass. They kept me going to the sacraments. They said, let's go to adoration. I didn't have buddies that went to adoration, but we did that. We went we did Stations of the Cross. We did retreats with these guys. Yeah. And they were fun retreats. We'd go and we'd have Mass in the morning, then we'd have silence, and then we would we'd take a walk in the woods, and then we'd do the Stations of the Cross, and then we would open up the whiskey and would have a good time. Right. So these guys really, they put the finish on it. Sometimes you think, okay, I'm married, now I'm going to go nuclear with the family. But you can't go nuclear. You've got to use your community, and you got to use other guys. And that's probably where I improved upon my dad's system, was that he had everything. He had the family, he had the faith, and he went to Stonehill College, and that's where he met my mom. And he really was rock solid. He didn't have a lot of male friendships, though. Now, maybe he didn't need them as much as I did. Right. But that's something a lot of men of that generation forgot, is those strong male friendships. And that's really what's helped me in my, from age, say, 35 to the present. I was born in 1966. So it's the male friendships. It's so important.
It is. And that's, we're a Catholic Men's Apostolate, and we're all about those relationships and how important it is to find other Catholic men that you can interact with and that help you build your faith and help you stay on track and, help you to build stronger families, stronger relationships, all of that. Curious if you have an opinion of this, just as you were speaking of that. I think you're right. I think men definitely need that. What do the women do?
Yeah, I think they're a little more, my wife, right after we got married, she had a lot of her friends from the shower. And then she gives birth, and then she's got her baby friends. Yeah. And women tend to be more comfortable congregating. Guys think they can kind of do it on their own. Yeah. So, I think women do need good female relationships. Right. But sometimes you don't have to sell them on it. Whereas with guys, guys are like, well, I got the golf buddies, and it's like, all right, they kind of wait for the event and then they go from there.
Yeah.
Whereas with my Catholic friends, they were more like, okay, this is what we got to do, right? So let's get in, let's wake up, let's work out, and then we'll do a rosary. Like these guys were they were more proactive.
Yeah.
Than I was in practicing the faith, and that's what helped me.
Yeah. Do you find yourself doing that for other guys now?
Yes, and I tell them, look, this is what we got to do, guys. We've got to, and it's funny because it's guys of my generation really need the prodding. You know who doesn't? The young guys.
Yeah.
The young guys are on fire. I follow all these guys on Instagram, and they're making funny videos about, about the sacraments and about, holy water. I saw this funny video on Instagram. The guys walk about, hey, buddy, he stops him. He's like, holy water. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just funny little moments,
right.
But
right.
The young guys go to adoration. The young guys are going in. I was at a seminary recently because I do music, and I wanted to study Gregorian chant, and I went into that cemetery. All these young guys in there. These are the future guys for the church. Yeah,
it's fantastic. You talk about being an altar boy when you were growing up. I'm very proud to say I was the Altar Boy of the Year, 1978, from Notre Dame Parish out in Clarendon Hills, Illinois. My experience was different than yours because I got Altar Boy of the Year. From the stories you told, it sounds like it was...
We were a little goofy. I'm a little embarrassed, but I tell the stories even though it's embarrassing. But it's funny because, I'm a singer. Now, I should have been a choir boy.
Right.
But the choir boys... And people don't understand this. The choir boys, at least in Massachusetts, they were the tough guys.
Yeah.
Like the altar boys were not, it was like a little more gentle.
Right.
Choir boys, there was a lot of, jockeying for attention, getting the solos, and it's like, no, you got to sit back there. You're in the back of the bus, this kind of thing. Whereas with the altar boys, it was kind of 2 by 2. So there's 2 altar boys at Mass. So you really had to, it was a little more of a mentorship. So it was a little more gentle. I couldn't deal with the choir boys. And when I tell people, they say, choir boys, they're tough. They are tough.
All things are relative, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking a little bit of time talking to me. I'm really looking forward to hearing your talk out here, and I want to thank you for coming down and sharing some of your wisdom with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. A little wisdom, and I'm going to be funnier when I'm up on stage. Believe me, I'm not as funny on podcasts, but it does get better.
It does get better. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate it.